Hi, I'm Maya, and today I want to rank all of Kate Morton's books from my least favorite to my most favorite. So I have another video on my channel where I talk about how much I love Kate Morton's books and why I love Kate Morton's books and why she's just one of the best authors ever. So if you haven't watched that, go check that out. In this video, I wanted to rank all of her books from my personal least favorite to my personal most favorite. So I just want to preface this by saying that just because I put a book at the bottom of the list doesn't mean that I didn't like it or that it's a bad book. It just means I didn't like it as much as her other books. And some of her books are really special to me or I was really impressed by. And so they're higher up on the list than other books. But I think overall, I don't think Kate Morton is capable of writing a bad book. I think they're all good in their own way. This is my opinion, my personal takeaway from the books, and my personal response and reaction, and just what I am more drawn to as a reader personally. So, with all that being said, coming in at number 7 is The House at Riverton. So I'm pretty sure this was Kate Morton's first book, and I think it kind of shows. I think she just gets better and better as the years go on. I think she gains more experience. Practice makes perfect, right? I feel like since this was her very first book, it's not up to her later standard, which is understandable. House at Riverton, I just personally found it a little bit boring. I still liked parts of it. I still liked the storytelling. But I think something that really rubbed me the wrong way about it is that it's told in first person, and I'm just personally not really a fan of first person narrator as a general rule. I do love Emily Henry's books, and those are usually first person. But I feel like that's different. I feel like for a romance book, I'm good to be reading from a first person perspective. But for a more like dramatic, historical setting, I prefer third person. That's just my personal preference. So yeah, House of Riverton is still a fun book, and like you kind of have to read it. Like if you're a Kate Morton fan, you need to read all of her books. But I would say it's my least favorite of all of her books. Number 6 is Homecoming. For me, this book was just a little bit too dark, which is surprising because normally I like dark things. I like horror stories. I'm usually fine with a darker, scarier vibe, but I think the subject of this book kind of just hit a little too close to home. When the book came out, I was a brand new mother. I had just had my baby, and the story is about a dead infant. That just like really stressed me out, was really getting in my head, just like making me scared about my own baby, worried for her safety in her life, and it was just stressing me out reading that book. So I actually had to put it on hold. I put it down for months and months, and then finally went back and finished it. So that just happened to be my circumstance. It just didn't vibe with the season of life that I was in. So for me, it's at the bottom of all of Kate Morton's books. But I'm sure someone else who wasn't having that experience, didn't have that association, would probably enjoy it more than I did. And I did still enjoy it. I thought the ending was really sinister. I think it was fun that it was like a whodunit. I think the setting was beautiful. As always, Kate Morton's settings are always lush and descriptive, and you feel like you can dive right in. So that was great. But yeah, just a little bit spooky and sad. But I did enjoy the characters. I thought they were very well thought out, and they felt like real people. They were detailed well. Definitely had a lot of good things going for it. I just wasn't the biggest fan. Number 5 is The Clockmaker's Daughter. I remember really enjoying this one actually because it mentions like the pre-Raphaelite art movement. That's a period in history that I've always found fascinating, so getting to read more about that was cool for me. I liked reading from the perspective of a muse, and I liked the house. I liked how it was like a haunted house, and I liked hearing things from the ghost's perspective. I do remember there being a lot of characters and that kind of at times feeling like a bit too much. Like maybe if she'd narrowed her focus more, it could have been a better book. But I think my favorite part of The Clockmaker's Daughter, like the part that's jumping out the most to me in my memory, because it's been a while since I've read it. It's been a while since I've read most of Kate Morton's books, except for this one because it's her most recent one, Homecoming. Most of the opinions I'm going to be sharing in this video are just what I can recall from years ago. I really need to reread all of her books so I can, one, appreciate them more, but two, be able to talk about them more intellectually, like with more authority. Yeah, I definitely want to reread all of them when I have time. So that's another thing to keep in mind watching this video. Just take everything with a grain of salt because I don't remember every single detail of every single book. I'm mostly just going on feelings and vibes. When I look at the book, when I think about the time that I read it, I'm just talking about what I remember. Anyway, so that goes for all of the books. But back to specifically The Clockmaker's Daughter, I remember there being a really cute romance between the character in modern times who's exploring the house and like the caretaker guy. I think that's what their jobs and roles were in the story. I remember finding them very cute and like rooting for them, and like I think they're both helping each other heal or something. I remember that being one of my favorite parts of the book. So that's cute. I remember just really liking the artistic influence of like the vocabulary of artists and the tools and the artistic process. I feel like all of that really helped enhance the book. But it did not have the wow factor that some of Kate Morton's other books had, which is why it's lower on the list. Number 4 is The Lake House. My one gripe with this book is that it's very obvious the big connection between the person in modern time solving the mystery and the family in the past whose story is unfolding. It's supposed to be like a big what moment, but for me I was like, I saw it coming a mile away, so that made it not as exciting for me to read. I was like, oh yeah, I kind of guessed that. But a big twist, a big shocking moment is not the only reason that I read a Kate Morton book. I also read it for the references and allusions to culture, history, literature, art, all of that. The setting, the characters. And I feel like what The Lake House lacked in shocking, surprising twist, it made up for in all the other things that I just mentioned. I really liked the sort of love triangle with the mom and her daughter liking the same guy. I thought that was really fun drama, like felt like soap opera-ish. It felt like a soap opera in the best way. Another thing that Kate Morton always does is all of her characters are always traumatized in some sort of way. They all have baggage and demons, and it's good to watch them heal and be cleansed and work through things and gain closure. And that definitely happened in The Lake House. I think one of the characters, I think like the main husband has PTSD or something from a war, if I'm remembering correctly. So that was interesting to explore, that situation. Very sad, but also good to talk about. I think that was one of the first one of Kate Morton's books I read, and I really, really enjoyed it. I remember having a good time reading it as a teenager. I remember it being like one of the first more adult books that I read as a teenager. So that will always stand out to me in my mind of like feeling really grown up reading it. And now we're getting into the top 3, my top 3 Kate Morton books. Number 3 is The Forgotten Garden. This one is really sad. I remember I think I actually cried reading this one. I don't think I usually cry in Kate Morton books, but I think this one might have actually got me. I really liked the connection to The Secret Garden, that classic book, and I liked the connection to just children's literature in general, and children's books, and just the magic and whimsy that comes with reading as a child. And books aimed towards children usually have that magic and whimsy baked into them, and so the whole experience of reading a book meant for a child is a sweet and sentimental experience. There's like a yearning quality to children's literature, and I feel like Kate Morton is good at capturing that. I remember something that sticks out to me is like a horse accident, like someone getting trampled by a horse-drawn carriage or something. I don't remember exactly all the details, but that was like really vivid to me. When I read it, I was like, oh, what a violent, horrible way to go. Like, really bad. So I think The Forgotten Garden really showcases Kate Morton's talent as a writer to be able to harness her fangirlness, for lack of a better term. You can see that she is a true fan of The Secret Garden, and she does a wonderful job of using that as her inspiration without just copying it, without just being a rip-off or a copy-paste. Truly taking it, appreciating it, and being really inspired by it, and then weaving that into a separate story that she already had in her mind of these original characters and this specific story. I think Kate Morton is just very gifted at doing that, at taking books and stories and other forms of art that inspired her as a young child or as an adult. She's good at taking those and drawing from them and making something new and beautiful. My second favorite Kate Morton book is The Distant Hours. It is so creepy in the best way. Like, I remember being so scared reading the opening about the Mudman. Holy cow, so scary. It gave me chills when I first read it. Spooky, haunting, gothic, all of that fun stuff. Yeah, I really want to reread it now, just like sitting here thinking about it, because I just remember having the best time reading that book. I think I read it on a Kindle. I think I remember like swiping through the pages, like not being able to go fast enough. So I was like, what's gonna happen? Yeah, I think that one had a good twist, if I'm remembering correctly. They're like these twin sisters, and like a lover. One of them has a lover. I think there's 3 sisters. I think it's a set of twins and a third sister. And then there's one of them has a boyfriend or something, and he dies, and it's like a mystery how he dies. And then the twist at the end is like, oh wait, what? If I'm remembering correctly. I could be completely wrong, but that's what I'm remembering. And I remember being like really impressed with it and just having fun with it. I mainly remember being scared reading it and really creeped out, but like in a really cool, positive way. Not in the way that I was creeped out reading Homecoming, because this was too real. This was like genuine fears that I didn't want to think about. But Distant Hours was more like, ooh, spooky, like, and I was far enough removed that like nothing like that had ever happened to me, and probably never will. I'll probably never be in those exact same circumstances. So, and that I was able to just enjoy being scared. Yeah, and I think opening up with like the story of the Mudman and then like using that as like folklore, fairy tale, just as a good way to like set the stage for the rest of the novel. And it's a great attention getter. It's a great way to grab the audience, grab the reader right from the start, and then just not let them go. And that means there is only one book left. My favorite Kate Morton book of all time, one of my favorite books ever, actually, is The Secret Keeper. That's the first Kate Morton book I ever read, and I think it will always be special to me because of that fact. It's just so good. It's her best, I think, and I feel like a lot of people would agree with me. The twist is so good, the characters are so good. I don't think you should go into The Secret Keeper with any preconceived notions. I think you should just know there is a twist, and it is amazing, and you don't need to overthink it, you don't need to try and solve it. You just need to read it and enjoy it and be sucked into it. It's just amazing. It's just such a good book. So those are my thoughts on Kate Morton's 7 novels. I'm really excited to keep reading all of her books as she keeps writing them. It's great to have an author like that you can count on, you can be excited about. You can count down the days till they're released and go to the store and get their book and just be happy and excited and know that you're going to have a great time reading it. Because, like I said earlier, all her books are good. I enjoyed all of her books. Just some of them I enjoyed more than others. I always have a great time reading her books. She's so good at world building, so good at creating an atmosphere that you can just dive into and live in for a little while. And I always feel a little bit like foggy in my head after reading one of her books. Coming out of it kind of takes a while because I'm still like in the world, I'm still with those characters, I'm still in those houses. She's so good at making houses that feel like characters. Like I can still picture in my head like the layout, the floor and the exterior, just all of the details of all the different houses and all of her different books. Like, they're all always important, and they always like contain secrets, and like monumental things happen inside all of them. And yeah, like the creaky floorboards, or like the secret tunnel, the secret passageway, like the nursery, the kitchen, like all these different houses are so iconic in their own way. They really just stick inside my head. So I definitely want to reread all of these sometime. I also want to get my own physical copies of them, because these are the only two that I have, Homecoming and Clockmaker's Daughter. But I really want to get my own copies of the rest of them. Oh yeah, maybe next Christmas. Hint, hint, husband. Because I just borrowed the other ones when I read them. But I need to have them for my library. Maybe if there's like a really pretty box set or something, I could get them. Of all of them, that like match or something, that would be cool. I need to look at her website. I used to like check it religiously and like be really updated on like her newsletter and stuff, but recently I've just been distracted with other things and haven't been checking. But I should look at her website again soon. So that's my official ranking of her books. I would love to hear what other people think, how they would rank these books, 7 to 1, least favorite to most favorite. Hear about things we agree on and things we disagree on. Yes, that was my ranking of Kate Morton's novels. Thank you so much for watching.